Assalamu alaikum, Jumanang, goeie aand. Nda itaola likai. Yes, welcome to Salam Media, and this is Friday Night Live with me, ST Safarasta. We're coming to you live from our headquarters in Johannesburg, South Africa, and big up to the guys behind the scenes for the new headsets and headphones, making it much more easy and comfortable. Big up to obviously production team Salilo and Sadek, my man, holding it down for us also. Right, coming up on tonight's program, obviously a jam-packed show as always. Firstly, we obviously begin the program. We thank the Almighty as how He has praised Himself, the Creator, the Sustainer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for granting us yet another day, another chance and opportunity to witness the Mubarak day of Jum'ah, firstly, and for us to obviously be alive and well and kicking and doing what we do best. Yes, obviously humanity sets the agenda right here on Salam Media. Let's obviously make some shukr and some thanks for what we have, and make dua and supplicate and remember those while less fortunate. Having said that, obviously today's the 11th of June. Obviously it's the Friday night show live right here on Salam Media. Coming up on tonight's program for adrenaline junkies, Sabi, I know you're watching and streaming, and many other guys as well. I'm going to be speaking to Bervely Cosslet, who is the chief instructor of Johannesburg Skydiving Club, and they operate in the Carltonville area in Gauteng. Now we're going to be talking to about exactly skydiving, tandem skydiving. They've also got a bit of a development program and many other things, and as well as pricing and bookings, and also something called a static line. I'd like to hear from you, the listeners and viewers of Salam Media. Have you skydived? Do you skydive? Sadek, I don't know. Will you skydive? I think maybe Salilo's more the type of world, but we'd like to interact with you and hear from you. What's your experiences like, where you've been, and what are you still looking to tick off your bucket list? Send me a WhatsApp on 061 766 0355. Thereafter, I'm going to speak to a young 18-year-old guy by the name of Spepelelo Mabena. Now, he's created an app, okay, in our Tech Talk segment, where taxi commuters can calculate your costs without any fuss. I mean, this is innovation at its core, and it's something so great, that we have here in South Africa. Young startups, young minds, young ideas, which we can grow and, show the world, show the African continent, our Africanity, and how great we can be. Thereafter, in the sports segment, I'm going to be speaking to Len Moleko. We're covering the Euros as well, and also we're going to be speaking to Yusuf Saib, who's in the building tonight, the Formula One segment. Now a bit later on, I'm going to play a clip about the race that took place last week, and also I'd like your comments and views about Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen and exactly what happened there. Mercedes-Benz fans, Red Bull fans, I'd like your interaction on that. I mean, you guys were watching, you know what happened there, the last two laps, if I'm not mistaken. Why I'm laughing, because I'm a Mercedes fan, and wow, this is just quite shocking. Thereafter, in the motoring segment, I speak to Adam Ford. Tonight we're talking about how you can prevent yourself from having your car repossessed. No, we're not doing an auction, just so we are clear. That and more still to come, so stay tuned. It's now 7 after 7, and I'm going to be speaking to Bervely Cosslet in a moment or so.
Fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
All right, as I said, 7 minutes after 7 p.m. Welcome back. Now it's time for our Go Wild segment, and tonight I speak to Bervely Cosslet, who is a chief instructor at Johannesburg Skydiving Club, and they're based out in Carltonville. And obviously, we're going to be talking to her about exactly some static lines and the SL student, the static line student, and you've got to attend some ground school training run on a Saturday, and all about accelerated free falls and sports skydivers, some events which are happening, and a whole lot of other interesting, fun stuff. Bervely Cosslet, good evening. Welcome to Salam Media, and welcome to the Friday Night Live program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Great stuff. It's awesome to have you with us tonight. Okay, before we continue into exactly Johannesburg Skydiving Club, I believe obviously you're one of the only two in the country. Bervely Cosslet, your love for adrenaline in this, you know, thriving, yearning desire for, you know, being an adrenaline junkie and, you know, all of this. When did this all begin for you as a young lady in your younger days? Were you always want to be more outgoing, or did something happen that maybe, you know, inspired you to just go and be an adrenaline seeker?
So I laughed earlier because you were kind of going, oh, this person is more likely to go skydiving than somebody else, and that's probably true
Well,
because it's
yes.
it's a personality type of person that would venture towards more adrenaline sports. So we do find that that the skydivers are a little bit more in the lines of delinquents, and they like to race motorbikes
Yes.
or drive fast cars, or base jump and do other extreme sports. So I've always been involved in sports. I've always been a bit of a tomboy,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean that's everybody in skydiving. It was just kind of my path,
Exactly.
and and I started because I was dating a guy who wanted to do it, and I'm kind of that girl that tries anything once. So that's how I started. But then we kind of got competitive, and I discovered the competitive side of skydiving, which a lot of people. The question that a lot of people ask is, how do you compete in skydiving? Don't you just fall
Yeah.
out of an airplane, right? But I kind of got into competitive skydiving, and that was the start of the end for me. It was just amazing, and so I've managed to represent South Africa in 2 world
Wow.
championships. It's phenomenal, and I
Okay.
compete. Yeah, and I compete most years. Johannesburg Skydiving Club hosted nationals this year, and I competed in 3 teams, and did very well again. And it's just phenomenal. It's this community of insane people.
I like it, insane in the membrane. It's awesome stuff. Now, obviously, your background includes national and international SA representation, as you've mentioned, right? In a 4-way formation skydiving. Now, we've seen this sometimes on many adverts, or be it on National Geographic, be it on whatever platform, So, you've been jumping for 23 years, and you're an instructor now for about 18 or so. I would
Correct.
never say, but anyway, your job as a chief instructor, what does it exactly entail?
So, I mean, my hobby is a chief instructor. So I do have a regular 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job. So the whole thing about having a club, and you mentioned that we're only one of 2 clubs in the country. There are other drop zones in the country, but they're privately owned. But the Johannesburg Skydiving Club is like club, essentially. And so, as a chief instructor, it's my job at the moment to keep everybody safe. So we uphold rules. We do a lot of training. We train people who want to learn to skydive. And then, as well as develop people in other things. So to compete, to become jump masters, coaches, and instructors themselves. So so that's my role at the moment. I've been a chief instructor for 8 years. I'm the only female chief instructor in the country, and the only instructor evaluator in the country that's a woman. So it's quite a big thing. So, girls think that it's a boy-dominated sport, and it is.
Yeah.
But that glass ceiling is getting cracked.
No, but I mean, it's great to obviously, break the ice, change the whole dynamic, because there's this, I'd say, mentality among people. But we're seeing a lot of adrenaline seekers and junkers that obviously, they want to explore a bit more, be it skydiving, be it free fall, be it bungee, whatever the case is. But anyway, we're just going to take a quick ad break, and thereafter I'm going to be chatting to Bervely all about JSC. I want to ask about tandem skydiving, the static line student, and this whole program thing, and about drop zones, etc. There's a whole lot more I still want to discuss, so we'll be back in a moment or so. Stay tuned, and we'll be back after this.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Penny Appeal Love Palestine campaign. Let us stand in solidarity and create an awareness of the plight of the people of Palestine. Support our initiative in providing medical assistance and food security. Donate towards our urgent appeal with your zakat, sadaqah, or lillah. Visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal Love Palestine. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
The Al Shazia Weekend Winter Sale now on. 20% off all ladies and girls abayas, 15% off all plain and branded abayas, 20% off all Samira kaftans, 20% off selected kurtas. Warm up to our sizzling specials this winter. 3 days only, 11, 12 and 13 June. Al Shazia, the scarf specialist. 215 Sparks Road, Overport, Durban. Call 031 207 6462. Al Shazia.
Dad, well, I've been chatting with an investment broker today and...
Broker? Did the broker tell you that our economy is a mess? There's bushfires in Australia, America wanted World War III, and now the coronavirus is traveling around the world.
Well, I also thought about purchasing some crypto.
Crypto? What's that, like another pyramid scheme? I don't trust what I can't see.
There's an apartment in Belito.
So all your family will be asking to stay there for free. And what if the government takes it away, eh?
Dad, I don't think it works like that.
I'll tell you what works. Gold. At your age, I invested in gold coins and it paid for your university fees and your wedding. No contracts, no agreements. Your investment is in your hands and you own it. With a 70% growth in only 5 years, do you still doubt gold investment? Contact RJ Coin today, 031 202 4701, or visit them at 151 Stephen Lamini Road in Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange, your passport to gold investment.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Okay, welcome back. And it's now just 15 minutes after 7 p.m. on the dot. Obviously, I'm chatting to Bervely Cosslet, who is a chief instructor at the Johannesburg Skydiving Club, which operates out in Carltonville in this part of Gauteng, and it's obviously in the Carltonville airfield. We've been chatting about her experience, and yeah, let's get her back on the line. Bervely, you're still with us there. Obviously, we were discussing drop zones and what the JSC does in terms of tandem skydives. Bervely?
So there's 3 different ways that you can skydive.
Okay.
There's 2 courses that you can learn to do. So one is, you mentioned earlier, the static line course. Then there's the accelerated freefall course. And if you don't want to learn to do it yourself and you just want to go and enjoy the fun, you can book yourself a tandem skydive.
Okay.
And we obviously do all of those. So the tandem skydive is amazing because you just kind of rock up, have a little briefing, and then the tandem instructor takes you 11,000 feet. You jump out the plane, you enjoy it. They open the parachute, they fly you down, and then you just have the most exhilarating feeling of your life. So, so a lot of people don't do that. Yeah.
I like the way you're expressing exhilarating because I can see it obviously just gives you so much of joy. But for somebody who's like afraid, or somebody who maybe is a bit more reserved, because obviously it's personality driven, these kind of things. What are some of the experiences that you've had there, like in terms of your demonstrations? Do people obviously freak out? I mean, I've seen videos on YouTube. I don't know how true they are. Some people get like, they like pass out while they're in midair with an instructor or with a, you know, an acquaintance. I mean, you are obviously at an altitude of about what, 3,000 or 4,000 feet. I don't know how high, but do these kind of things actually happen, or have you experienced some of these incidents, you know, in your experience?
Yeah, so they can happen. They're very rare though.
Okay.
Most people are, even if somebody is nervous or scared of heights, skydiving is something that they can definitely do because it's so high that there's no depth perception anymore. So we have a lot of people that come through who want to overcome a fear or want to celebrate something like a 40th or a 60th or an 80th birthday. And then they do. They kind of feel like they can live, you know, so they kind of go, this is like a once in a lifetime experience, and they come and do it. So we have people from all ages, you know, all demographics, all experiences, and some people love adrenaline sports and some people are very nervous and it's not something that they would normally think that they could do. And they do. They're amazing. And everybody has the same reaction. It's that, oh my good grief, I have just done something phenomenal, and just all the good feelings run wild.
Like, why didn't I do this earlier in my life? Kind of vibe.
So often.
Now, you're one of only 2 clubs in the country that, with all other drop zones being privately being owned. Now, this kind of thing, what makes obviously the JSC so different, and obviously being one of the only two in the country with all other drop zones being privately owned, I want to discuss the differences here, like with regards to drop zones, like the training that's involved. I'm sure obviously it's weather dependent. I don't know. You obviously can advise further.
Yes. So yes, we are a weather dependent sport. So we jump in weather conditions that are conducive to flying a parachute, really. So we won't skydive in rain or very high wind, or if there's so much cloud cover that we can't see the ground. So those conditions we won't skydive in. But like tomorrow, it's just going to be a little bit cold, but we'll definitely go out tomorrow. We just dress warmly. But so all drops
dress warmly in the sky. Dress warmly. Okay.
but so all the skydiving drop zones in the country follow the same safety protocol. So we're very highly regulated. So even though it's done by a lot of delinquents, it's a very highly regulated sport. And PASA, the Parachute Association of South Africa, governs us. So all the clubs has the same safety rules and the same rule book that we have to follow. Us as a club, all it means is that any money or any investments that get made go back into the infrastructure of the club and into the sport and into the students. So it's the decisions are slightly different in that we always want to invest in the infrastructure and in the members and in the club. So from that point of view, the kind of the difference between a club and a privately owned, where there's one person or a couple that owns the drop zone.
I'm looking at your JSC.co.za website, and I'm looking at the clip where it says, obviously, the JSC tandem skydive. And then there's this guy who says, the flying guy. I'm watching some of these videos here from like 11,000 feet, like, wow. And that's quite high. I mean, it's really interesting. Now, I want to talk about in your background and in your history, right? This year, you competed in obviously 2-way, 4-way, and 8-way formations. The preparation for this year, I mean, obviously being a sport, because people might need, go out for the skydiving experiences, as a bucket list kind of thing. And then people obviously participate, in a competitive manner, as like you have. The preparation and, the diligence involved. Talk to us a bit more about this year, and obviously the National Skydiving Championships where is it at currently, obviously with this whole COVID situation and, lockdown and things like that. And where do we see ourselves in South Africa and around the globe as well in this regard?
So we had to postpone last year's nationals because it was meant to run at the end of April. Or middle of April last year, and then we had hard lockdown. So unfortunately, our sport for the first time ever didn't have a national championships. And then this year we did have it. We ran in May, and it really ran beautifully. Just with regards to COVID, like we had all the protocols in place. Everybody was really respectful to the rules. So we managed to run a very successful event with nobody getting sick or nobody getting contracting anything, which was fantastic. In terms of kind of training, I think this year was also a little bit different because normally teams, so I've been in a team now for 4 years with the same people, and normally we would go overseas and do a training camp in one of those indoor wind tunnels. We would do a lot more jumps, but this year and leading up to this nationals, we didn't have as much preparation time, and because COVID, right? So a lot of people hadn't been jumping. The drop zones closed for 3 months. All of them around the country closed for 3 months last year. So it's been a little bit of a difficult year, all in all. And then obviously the Cape Town clubs have really battled because we've got no tourists, and they really, really rely on the tourists to come through. So
now on this point, with regards to tourists, Bervely, and yes, we are coming to you live via YouTube, via Facebook, via the TuneIn app, via the Salam Media website on salammedia.com/listen live. And yes, I'm also on the Facebook live. How's it, guys? I'm watching you. I acknowledge all of you guys as well. I want to ask about, being a chief instructor to train and develop your students. How many students have you trained, and what are some of the training and programs that you offer as the JSC, or is this done privately?
Yeah, so sure, I wouldn't be able to tell you how many students I've trained. So over 18 years,
wow,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay.
and we run 2 different training programs.
So you've
we run
got like the PhD of skydiving.
10,000 hours. That's over. But yeah, so lots of people from all over the world, because
Yeah,
lots of people come here as well to train, which is really fantastic. I've made the most amazing friends from all over the world. So we ran the 2 different programs, the static line training and the accelerated freefall training, which you mentioned. So you do a ground school where we teach you to be able to identify your equipment, fit your equipment, get into the plane, get out of the plane, do whatever you need to do in the sky, open your parachute, fly your parachute, land safely. So that's what we train you through both programs. And then static line, it's a series of jumps where you go out, you only go to 3,500 feet. And as you jump out, there's a static line that's attached to the aircraft, and that then opens your parachute. And you do about a series of about 23 jumps to get to the same point that the accelerated freefall does in 10. And so the AFF program, you do a little bit of extra training post ground school, and then you go to 11,000 feet with 2 instructors just holding onto you. And you go out, you do a series of things in the sky, and then you pull your own parachute. If you don't, then obviously the instructors will for you, and then you fly your own parachute down. So and that's a 10 jump program. So it's an accelerated learning program as opposed to just falling towards the earth.
So guys on Facebook, yes, I'm in studio coming to you live from Johannesburg, and Brother Sibes holding it down for me as well. I'm speaking to Bervely Cosslet, and we're talking about the Johannesburg Skydiving Club. I'd like to hear from you guys as well. You can comment. Have you been out for skydiving? What's some of your experiences? Is it something that you're still going to tick off your bucket list? And if you haven't, well, tune into Salam Media right now, because I'm speaking to somebody who's got like the PhD of skydiving. Now, you were talking about the accelerated free fall, and obviously now your training runs every Saturday at the drop zone. Okay, and this is currently, even though we're on the level with the lockdown right now, or is this not dependent on situations? Just so the listeners and viewers are clear.
No, so we open and operating, and we follow quite strict protocols. So trying to keep everybody as safe as possible. But yes, we run training every Saturday. It starts at 8 o'clock at the drop zone, and every week.
Okay, now obviously with regards to some of the club facilities, your drop zones are obviously fully fenced off. I mean, in terms of securitization, I also see you've got barbecue areas in a swimming pool with a childproof fence, etc. Talk to us a bit more about some of the facilities that are on offer at your premises there at Carltonville.
Sure.
At the Carltonville Airfield,
Yeah, so we've got a very family-friendly drop zone. So yes, we've got kind of an entertainment area. We've got a canteen where you can come and have breakfast, lunch, dinner. We've got a fully functioning bar, bush pub area if you want. We've also got, it's a very safe area. Like you said, we've got a fenced off swimming pool if the kids want to swim. It's a little bit cold now, but in summer the kids do enjoy it. And then obviously our landing area and where everybody kind of stands and views is very open and conducive to people coming to watch. So if you are coming to do a skydive, you can bring your family and friends with, and they're right there watching you come in and land. It's all very open and safe and secure.
Okay, now with regards to pricing, jump to tandem pricing, a jump for the accelerated free fall, the static line. Talk to us about pricing and how this works. You're obviously going to be accompanied by an instructor, right? So talk to us how all of this work, each one, option 1, 2, 3, and I see there's like 4 options. Wow, there's so much to look at. Guys, go on to JSC, not the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, not JSE, JSC.coza. Yeah, take us through the pricing structure.
Sure. So for the tandem pricing, there's 4 different options, and really the price changes depending on what camera options you want to take. So there's one which has 0 camera options, which is obviously the cheapest. So it's just on 2,200 odd rand. Then there's one which has a hand cam. So that's when the instructor has a camera attached to his hand. So that's for like extreme close-ups. Then we've got the external camera. So that's when an experienced camera flyer jumps out with you alongside you, and they film everything. So they make you a whole little movie from kind of like an initial interview, getting in the plane, getting out the plane, your whole free fall, etc., and your landing. And then there's the deluxe option, which is obviously a combination of them. So the external camera flyer and the hand cam on the instructor So he can chat to you under canopy. So all of those are you get the same tandem experience. It's just different camera options. So it really depends on what you want to have. My favorite has always been the external camera, just because you get kind of a real nice overview of your experience, and you've got some really nice shots for your Facebook profile pictures, and then at least you've got your video forever that you can go and recall and remember it. And then obviously we've got the program. So static line, I think it's just over 1,500 Rand for your course, your equipment and your jump. And then the accelerated free fall is just over 3,000 Rand for your equipment, your training, and your first jump.
Now, so basically your first time skydiving, basically your experience on a static line, your parachute ride would be what, about 5 minutes or so, if I'm not mistaken, or how long would it be?
Yes, about that. Yeah, same as the planning.
So you need to perform at least one jump per month, or how should you be encouraged to do multiple jumps a day, or how would this work, basically?
Yeah. So the one jump a month is really the kind of the base safety requirement from the Parachute Association.
Okay. Right.
If you're wanting to do skydiving as a sport, and if you're wanting to progress, then obviously the more you do, the steeper your progression curve is going to be. So we always encourage people to do more than that. A lot of people come in and they just put their money down and they're like, I want to do this in the shortest period of time. And kind of they've got their first license and they're way on their way. So it really depends person to person, and obviously your budget.
So basically what happens, like, for example, when you complete like all of your levels, like there's 10 levels as you mentioned, right? You obviously move from one program to the other to qualify for your license, and then obviously to qualify for your A license. And guys, I'm not talking about driving license, I'm talking about a skydiving license. And then obviously you're going to have your accelerated free fall or your static line program, and then the ISP program. Talk to us briefly about that before we obviously wrap up.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, skydiving is very structured. So we kind of lead people into developing new skills. So the static line and the AFF is really just kind of survival. And then the intermediate skills is where we start teaching you some additional skills to fly relative to somebody else. And then you can get your first A license. Then you do, it's called category 2, where we teach you more advanced flying skills. And then you go all the way up to a B license. And then the B license lets you jump out of helicopters and onto beaches and out of balloons. And then you're no longer considered a student. And then there's 2 more licenses. There's a C and a D license. And each license allows you to do more things in the sport. So it really is about taking people through and guiding them and holding their hand all the way through to making them safe and independent skydivers.
I'm just going to try and get my studio controller Sadek to try and upload some of these images. I'm looking at the 8-way formation here under the sports skydiving. Wow, these images look so amazing, man. It's so intriguing, and there's so much of diligence that goes into this. But anyway, having said that, Beverly, it's been amazing hosting you tonight. Before we let you go, I believe you're obviously out in Carletonville Airfield. That's on the corner of Geldenhuys and Wolmarans Street, and it's in Carletonville, Gauteng. What are your socials and your contact numbers? And you can just share that with our viewers and listeners as well.
Sure. So you can reach us on Facebook and Instagram under Johannesburg Skydiving Club. You can just search for us there. Let me just find our number because I don't know that offhand. 759-3483. That's 083-759-3483. You can call, message, or WhatsApp on that. Otherwise, you can email us on bookings@jsc.co.za if you have any questions. Otherwise, you can pop us a message through Facebook or Instagram. I'm normally on the other side of those messages as well. So you can always just hit us up, or like you said, just hop onto our website and you can get in.
Or you can just dial 083 Skydive, because the numbers 759-3483 make up 083 Skydive. Anyway, Bervely Cosslet, it's been great hosting you tonight. Thanks so much for your time. We wish you all the very best. And guys, want to explore skydiving? If you haven't yet, something you want to tick off, go and check out JSC, the Johannesburg Skydiving Club, on the website as well as on their Facebook page, and get in touch with Bervely. Bervely Cosslet, have an awesome evening. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, you too. Appreciate your love.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
cheers, guys. Bye-bye. Well, that was Bervely Cosslet, who was a chief instructor at the Johannesburg Skydiving Club. We were talking about skydiving, and there's a thing called tandem skydiving. Yusuf Saib holding my phone. How's it, guys? What's happening? Have you been for skydiving? Will you go for skydiving?
I haven't been
You
for
haven't.
skydiving.
Okay. Anyway, we're taking a quick ad break. We're ushering towards obviously 7:30. Coming up next, we're going to be chatting with obviously Yusuf in this regard about obviously the Formula One, about exactly what happened last week, and we're going to be playing you a video clip about the incident that took place on that race. Stay tuned, and we'll be back after this.